This is Suit Up Sports.
Suit Up Sports.
Where opinions are as sharp as a tailored suit. No fluff, no gimmicks, just unfiltered, hard-hitting takes on sports and a whole lot more. It's time to suit up. Now here's your host, DJ the Suit Stout.
Welcome to Suit Up Sports. I'm DJ the Suit Stout, along with my boy Mark Yarbrough. Mark, how you doing?
Good, DJ. A lot to chop up today. Obviously, I got some things. I might get heated. I'm just warning you right
Get
now.
heated,
There's some things that already irked me this morning, but it's good to be with you, man. A lot of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, Frank is on his celebrity golf tour that he's on this time of year, and
so him and Tiger are going to tee it up in the Champions Tour next year.
Good Lord,
hopefully.
man, tell you what. But yeah, Frank's playing a celebrity golf tournament, so he's off today. But let's get right to it, man. This is the fourth week out of 5 that we've been able to do the show on a Monday, and the Panthers have actually won the game.
Yeah.
And yesterday, going into Green Bay, we talked about it last week about, Green Bay playing at Lambeau. They're 3-0 at home, one of the best teams in the NFL. Jordan Love's playing as good as any quarterback in the league. We knew that it was going to be an uphill battle for the Panthers to even keep it close. They were going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to let Dowdle run the ball.
Yeah.
And really everything we talked about happened. Canales made Dowdle the featured back, and he went 25 rushes, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The defense played the bend, don't break rule,
Right.
which Frank talks about that a lot. Let them kick your butt from the 30 to 30. Once they get down in that red zone, tighten up, and that's what
That
they
was
did.
the story of the game, the red zone.
Yeah, red zone.
What the Packers couldn't do, the Panthers obviously had a lot to do with that.
Yep.
Creating that first drive. Who knows how the game turns out if Green Bay goes in and scores on that first drive, because that drive was a good drive.
Yep.
And then they had Panthers get the turnover, and it was a different game after that. And Greg Olsen mentioned it early. He said, if you're Dave Canales, you want to ugly this game up today. You want to muck it up. And that's exactly what the Panthers were allowed to do, and they did it, and it worked to their advantage.
It did. Bryce Young was 11 for 20 for 102 yards of interception, which you when you look at those numbers, you go, good God, team won with somebody throwing for 100 yards. But if you watch the game, you realize that, and you mentioned this before the show, the Panthers offensive line was beat up coming into the game and got beat up even more
early in the game. Yeah,
early Zavala, who just came back, out again. Damian Lewis was in and out with an injury. They had a guy they just picked up off the Arizona practice squad 2 weeks ago.
I think they signed a guy down at Culver's down the street that they picked up Saturday night. Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? You might want to play offensive line for us.
Yeah, and that guy Kerwin, I think is how you pronounce it. He played great. So the game plan stayed the same, though, regardless of what happened on the offensive line. He was not going to let Bryce go back there and throw the ball 30 times coming off an ankle injury.
Yep.
The wind was, going one way, was very strong. And we saw that play into the game by the missed extra point by the Panthers, missed field goal by the Packers, and the interception that Bryce threw. At that point in the game, they really had not talked about the wind a lot. And so as the game continued, Frank was watching the game with me, and I said, that interception Bryce threw, I think the wind probably had something to do with it, because it was a fade route. You're supposed to, the only one that's supposed to be able to catch
I thought it was going out of bounds. I was shocked when McKinney was able to pick it off. I'm sitting there watching. I was like, oh, that's just going out of bounds. And next thing you know, McKinney got it in his arms, and it's a turnover. I was like, wow.
Yeah, and the wind, I think, just got it, because that fade route, you're lobbing it over, and you're supposed to lead the receiver where he's the only guy that can get it, or it's out of bounds. And that ball ended up being 5 yards to the left. So, I really think that was just, really wasn't as bad as a decision as appeared to when it first happened. Bryce made some big throws, Tet with some big catches. And then Dowdle, man, like, this dude is the real deal. And, Chuba, we all like Chuba. And Chuba's a good player, we know, but you can just see the different styles that they have. And when Dowdle's in there, you see it fits what this offensive line does. And he reminds me of, and I think somebody said it yesterday, maybe it wasn't during the game, but like Le'Veon Bell, Dowdle's just patient. He waits for the.
Well, Greg also mentioned that there was one play where he did that stop.
Yep.
He kind of stopped and waited.
Maybe that's where it was.
And he that's exactly who Greg also said. That reminded him of Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I mean he's patient. He waits for the blockers to open the hole, and then he hits it. And man, I tell you, the Panthers have some interesting decisions to make, especially with the trade deadline being tomorrow. There's rumors that the Patriots have offered a 5th-round pick for Chuba. I know that Canales and Morgan love Chuba, not just because he's a good running back, but because of what he means to the locker room and the whole process and all these things you hear them talk about. But back to the game, what were your initial thoughts on the game itself? We talked a little bit before the game about Green Bay shot themselves in the foot quite a bit.
Yep.
We never heard Michael Parsons' name during the game at all, I don't think, and a lot of that had to do with the fact we didn't throw the ball as much. But what were your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I think we've kind of talked about the Panthers kind of knew going in the way. All right, this is how we can win this game. We can run the football. We could get some turnovers. We could buckle down if they get down in the red zone. They did all that. They did the things. They checked every box that they needed to win the game. And I give Dave Canales credit because, DJ, we see too many times coaches are stubborn.
Yep.
And this is nothing against Chuba. It would have been easy for Dave Canales to say, Chuba's still my guy. We signed him to an extension. He was so good last year. I still think he can be a big part of it. But he saw what everybody else saw in Rico Dowdle. Like, he's the hot guy right now.
Yep.
And a couple of weeks ago, I think Greg Olsen said it. You got to ride him. He's your hot back right. Mark Schlereth said it. You got to ride him. He's your hot back. And Dave Canales, first of last week, kind of hinted that that's the direction he was leaning. And obviously, as the week went on, it became apparent that Rico Dowdle was going to be the starting running back. So give Canales credit for that. And what the Panthers have done, and we were talking about this before the show, it's at least now you're in November and you're playing relevant football.
Yep.
It's just different than what we've seen here for the last few years, where by this time, unfortunately, you're already looking at the draft.
Yeah.
Well, you're not doing that this year. Yeah, I don't think anybody is sitting here today. There might be some. I don't want to speak for everybody in this city that think the Panthers are a Super Bowl team or anything like that. The euphoria after yesterday, maybe there are people that think that. But they're a team that they're like I was thinking about this yesterday. They're like a little gnat. They're a pest right now. And that you couldn't say that the last couple of years, but they're a team. You look at them now on the schedule, and with the Saints coming up next week, and then I believe it's go to Atlanta, and then you got the 40. They look at the Panthers now. You better at least look at the Panthers now. It's like, damn, that's a team that just, they're just bothersome. They don't want to go away. And I think it's baby steps. And it's just, at least if you're a fan, it's what you want to see. Like, you feel like there's some hope now.
Yep.
And, Bryce is not Joe Montana or Patrick Mahomes or anything like that, but he's doing enough, but they're smart enough to realize right now our strength is running the football.
Yep.
And they did that yesterday, and it helped them win.
I thought yesterday, we talked about Canales on this show quite a bit, and how the jury's still out. There's a lot of things. First of all, he seems like he's a great guy, positive guy, but the jury's still out because, he there's times where we question what he's doing or his play calling. But you use the word stubborn, and the one thing that he has shown is that he is willing to learn on the fly. And people have to remember, this is his first time as head coach. He's learning. And I thought yesterday may have been the best coaching performance he's had in his NFL career as a head coach. And some of it could have went the other way. And I'll give you a great example. At the end of the game, when it was 3rd and 10 or whatever it was, or might have been 2nd down, a lot of the folks I was watching the game with were going, you got to pass the ball here. You got to pass the ball here.
Get closer.
Get closer. Yeah. Get closer. It's a 49-yard field goal. Get closer. And I would have had no problem with that either. And they ran the ball for like a yard or whatever to set up the field goal. But, I was arguing with them saying, I wouldn't have had a problem passing. And they're going, well, that just means he doesn't trust Bryce. And I'm like, or it just means he's got a field goal kicker who's already made a game-winning kick.
He trusts him.
And he trusts him. And a 49-yard field goal with 16 miles an hour wind behind his back means that that's a kick that a kicker in the NFL should make. So why even risk anything when you're already in a position where he should make the field goal? Yeah,
and look, it was a good day for the Panthers, bad day for the Packers, and it was a really bad day for Matt LaFleur. I thought he was horrible yesterday. The decision to go for it on 4th and 8 instead of kicking a field goal, and it tells me, and I know McManus has had some quad issues. if you don't feel confident in your field goal kicker, then go get another field goal kicker.
Yep.
But you got to kick the field goal there. But back to Canales, and look, DJ, it started with the opening coin toss. He took the ball and knew he was going to have the win, and that was a big factor in how the game ended. That Fitzgerald wasn't kicking into the win on that field goal; he was, kicking with it. So that turned out to be a big part. But yeah, I thought really Canales wasn't much really yesterday you could gripe about. I think he understood. I got to beat up offensive line. The one thing I feel like we can do really well, regardless, is run the football.
Yep.
And they were committed to doing that yesterday. And it ate time off the clock. I don't know how many times Greg Olsen said it yesterday. Jordan Love can't beat you if he's staying on the sideline.
Right.
And I think you saw Jordan Love got impatient yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He a couple of throws he had no business making. He was forcing things. The one got picked off.
Morig.
Yeah, Morig picked it off. There was another one that Christian Watson made a hell of a catch, but he was lucky that ball wasn't picked off. So I think the fact that the Panthers controlled the clock, were able to keep Green Bay off the field offensively, I think that led to some frustration. And you saw how bad a day offensively Green Bay had.
And listen, people forget, Jordan Love, speaking of him being impatient, Michael Jackson dropped a gift right to him.
Yep.
And if he catches that, that's a 100-yard touchdown.
Nobody's catching.
Gone.
Right.
I mean, there was nobody close on that side of the field.
Sure.
Hits him right in the hands. I mean, every DB's dream. And he drops it. And, so you're right. Jordan Love, I thought, did get a little impatient yesterday. Even Greg Olsen yesterday, and I saw him on an interview today, doesn't understand why Green Bay doesn't kind of unleash Jordan a little bit more. Obviously Jacobs is a very good running back.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure your wife Elisa was screaming that.
Yes,
yesterday.
they're holding. It's almost like you don't firmly believe in him.
Yeah.
You mentioned a second ago, people you're watching the game, like, do you not trust Bryce Young? Like, do you not trust Jordan Love?
Yeah.
The guy went out there last week against a Pittsburgh defense who we saw yesterday look like the old Pittsburgh defense.
Sure did.
He went out there and sliced them up last week. And yet, you don't trust him to kind of turn it loose. But again, credit to the Panthers. They did what they had to do the formula, what it had to be, and they went out there and executed it.
And, Michael Kay from the Charlotte Observer, I saw him. He put a tweet out this morning, and I thought he made some really good points. I think Michael Kay does a great job covering this team. So does Joe Person. We're lucky we've got some great beat writers in this town. But he showed some changes that Canales has made during the season that have worked out. And again, it goes to a coach who's learning on the fly. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the fact when he made Wallace the signal caller on our defense instead of Roseboom has been a totally different player since then. He had 15 tackles, yesterday.
He was in on that fumble to start the game on that
punched
first
the fumble
round.
out.
Yeah, right.
He's been a totally different player since he's been able to just play instead of having to think for everybody else, get everybody in the right position. Wallace has been a different player since that change. Neither one of them are going to cover a tight end very well, which still is going to be a problem. And Tucker Kraft getting hurt yesterday was a huge play in the game. And I hope that that's not serious. Sounds like it probably is, but because that kid was emerging as maybe one of the top 3 tight ends in the league.
No doubt.
But the change at linebacker, Michael brought up also, and I probably say this guy's name right, Neiman or whatever, the big offensive lineman that we actually signed from the Packers.
Oh yeah. Yosh
Neiman or however you say it. But moving him to right tackle now as a backup instead of when he was at left tackle. He's a much better right tackle, and he played well. And again, Panthers didn't have Moten yesterday. They're starting right tackle, who's our best offensive lineman. We didn't have Cade Mays at center, who, again, this whole running renaissance started when he started playing center. So it was good to see with all these backups. We mentioned Zavala got hurt again yesterday. Damian Lewis is in and out yesterday. Hunt's out for the foreseeable future, and they just keep winning, and they just keep running the ball, and that is a mentality, and that is something you have to focus on and commit to, and they're doing it. And listen, I don't even know if Panthers are a playoff team, but like you said, I know if you go back the last 5 years at this time of the season, I'm already doing mock drafts.
Yeah.
I'm already researching what quarterback can we get? What linebacker can we get? What defensive end can we get?
And that's, as a fan, that's really all you could ask for here. Look, there are some cities where obviously that's not good enough just to be in the wild card conversation. You're expecting big things. Bills fans, Chiefs fans, Lions fans, go ahead, Eagles fans, Packers fans, fill in the blank. But for this fan base to be sitting here first week in November and you're looking at the schedule going, all right, this is doable. If we can get the 9 wins, they're going to have a shot. And that's, again, after what we've seen here for so many years, it's a change that I think everybody would welcome.
And listen, the way the schedule sets up, as far as the wild card goes, if you do want to look at that, and I do, just to see, the Panthers are going to play a lot of these teams that are going to be in the hunt with them. And so I wrote down the rest of their schedule, and I wanted to do a little exercise with you here and see how many wins we think this team can get to, objectively, reasonably. Right now, they're in second in the NFC South. In the wild card, they're just outside looking
ninth, I believe.
They're ninth, right. But in front of them, you've got the Rams, who we play. They're 6-2. We play them at home in a few weeks. The 49ers, who we play Monday Night Football in 3 weeks. So two of the teams we're in the hunt with, we play. And then you've got the Saints twice, the Bucks twice. The Bucks, the last game of the year, that who knows, the Bucks may already have to shut it down for that. You never know. And then we play the Seahawks, who right now have emerged as one of the best teams in the NFC. In the AFC, NFC, excuse me. Yeah. They're playing great, and they're a tough team. So let's see how many wins we think the Panthers can get to. We got the Saints coming up at home next week. I think we probably would both agree that's a W.
That's a must win, DJ. I know it's crazy to say it's a must win in November, but after what you just did against the Packers.
Yep.
To come home, and when you were to lose a game to a rookie quarterback and Tyler Shook, you talk about, and it would be a Panther thing to do.
It would be a Panther thing.
But this team, if you want to show you're different, that's a game you can't lose.
Yeah, because if you lose it wipes what you just did.
Absolutely. It's irrelevant. What you did yesterday doesn't count. So you've got to win this game coming up on Sunday. That's a game you got to have.
I agree, and hopefully the fans show up for it. Obviously, I don't think there won't be as many Saints fans as we saw with the Cowboys and the Bills. So this should be an actual true home field advantage. But I think we both agree that's a W. Then you're at Atlanta. Who knows?
I don't know what the Falcons are. I'll be honest with you. They put up a better fight yesterday against the Patriots than I thought they would. I thought they would get blown out. But you don't know what Falcon team's going to show up. I would think after the way the Panthers manhandled them here, that will be a tough game.
Yep.
I'm going to – right now I would lean probably it's an L, but – that's a toss-up game.
I probably would. I'm going to just put a box on that for a minute, and we'll come back to it. At San Fran, San Fran's banged up on defense. They're Mac Jones has been playing great. McCaffrey's going to probably run for 700 yards against us.
The revenge game.
Not that San Fran is this great team, but they just get it done. So on the road, Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I would think
I think that's an L there.
Sure.
Rams at home. Rams are playing great. Stafford's playing great. Kyron Williams is playing great. Adams is playing great.
Kua.
I mean, they're loaded on offense, and their defense has got a great young defensive line. I think I would lean L there as well.
Yep.
So we'll give it an L there. Then they got the bye week, which actually comes at a good time because they get rested up and they got 4 games to go.
All right.
You're at the Saints. We just talked about it. That's got to be a W.
If you want to get in the playoffs, you better at least split those 2 games.
Yeah.
You can't obviously afford to lose.
You really got to win both because
you're right.
You've got to get to at least 9 or 10 wins.
If you're going to lose the games we just talked about, the Rams, Niners, you've got to take care of business against teams you should beat. And the Saints are one of those teams the Panthers, quite frankly, should beat.
Yep, I agree. Then you've got the Bucks here. And, last year we had them beat. It was a horrible call by the officials, but we had them beat here, but ended up losing that game. They keep the games tight. They almost kind of play like we do, but Baker's playing at elite level. They are banged up too a little bit. But I want to give us a W on that one, so I'm going to. I'm going to give us a W on that one. Seahawks at home. I'm going to give us an L on that one. I think Seahawks are quietly one of the best teams in the NFL.
Thing nobody talks about. Now, for them, unfortunately, they're not going to go up against the Commanders' defense again this year.
That's true.
Sam Darnold could have thrown for 900 yards last night if they'd have kept him. If they'd have kept, I don't know, we'll get into it.
Right.
They took him out.
Yep.
But no, Seattle's right now, man. That's a very tough game to win, even if it's at home.
Yeah, and then at the Bucks, the last game, like we said, we don't really know what that's going to happen. But I'm still going to give us an L in case that game means something. But right there we had 3 wins. Right, we have them going 3-4 with nothing by the Falcons. So even if we go with a win on the Falcons, we're looking at 4-4, which would get them to 9-9. No, excuse me, 9-8. If you're 9-8, you're right in the hunt.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're there.
You need a lot of help probably, but And then who knows? What if they won the games we thought, and then they surprise us against the Rams or the Hawks?
But we have seen, and this it's a cliche. It's been said for years. The NFL truly is a week-to-week proposition.
It sure is.
And it was proven yesterday.
Yep.
The Packers looked so good in Pittsburgh in that second half last week, and everybody's thinking, like, 13.5-point favorite. This should be a cakewalk. And it's not. They lost. And we've seen other games this year where it just, the Eagles, 3 weeks ago, went to New York and got embarrassed. The Giants embarrassed them. Now, the Eagles got their payback a couple weeks ago. But, it's just a week-to-week proposition. Just when you think you've got it figured out, something happens, and you're like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and listen, you could make an argument that the only 2 games left that are wins are the Saints. And you can make an argument that the game at New Orleans won't be. I mean, you just don't know. You're right.
Could they lose most of these games? Yes. Yeah. Could the Panthers win most of these games? Yes.
100%.
That's how it is.
You don't know what injuries are going to take place, not only for the Panthers, but for some of these other teams. Yeah. I mean, so, but at least they're in the hunt. At least it's a lot more fun to watch than it has been in a long time. They're moving in the right direction, and they're going to have good salary cap money this year in the offseason. So, they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl, but we at least see that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that this process that we hear about all the time, they're sticking to the blueprint, and it appears to be working.
I know some fans want to win, and they want to look good doing it. And they want it to be really, exciting and gadget plays and all this stuff. I think if you're a Panthers fan at this point, just accept what you are.
Yep.
They're a blue-collar team. They're going to win running the football. They're going to, get stops on defense when they need them. Bryce hopefully doesn't go out there and, I don't want to say he's managing the game. Right now, that's where he is in his career. He's a game manager. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
I think if you're a Panthers fan, I don't care how I win. I'm just
100%.
win games. It doesn't matter. At the end of the year, they don't go there and go, well, that was an ugly win, so we can't give that to you. Or, Bryce only threw for 102 yards. That's really not a win. They all count. They count just like he'd gone out and scored 50 points.
And listen,
go ask the Bengals. You think the Bengals would like an ugly win?
Oh,
right now?
God, they would take in a heartbeat. that game was crazy. But yeah, Bryce is a game manager yesterday. He also audibled into that run with Dowdle that got us into field goal position. When Micah Parsons, they asked him after the game, you probably saw it, and he goes, man, great call. Yep. He changed it at line. We were totally loading up for a pass, and bam, they run it down our throats. So, Bryce, as long as Bryce takes care of the ball, and again, I'll give him a pass on that pick yesterday. I think it totally got caught up in the wind, and that was the deal on that. But if he just takes care of the football and we run the ball, because he also made some great throws yesterday too. I mean, he had 2 great ones to Tet, but Leggett with a big catch that he got knocked out on, but they say I guess he came back in the game if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think any Panther fan, if you ask them at this point in the year, would you take 5-4? I can't imagine anyone would go, you're crazy. We should be 8. I think everyone's elated and will happily take it. Yep. Before we jump into some college, I did want to talk to you about something that you alluded to in the Redskin Seahawk game, was the awful injury to Jaden Daniels late in the game. They're losing by 38-7. Should never have even been in the game, and gets sacked and dislocates his elbows. Gruesome injury. And who knows how long he's going to be out. He's going to be out for a while. Hopefully it's not anything that's going to hurt his future,
DJ, at this point, I think you'd be foolish, even if he's able to come back and play, to put him back out there after the year injury wise that he's had. But we'll see. More than likely, it figures he's out for the year.
Yeah, and look, the one knock on Daniels coming out of college was they worried about him staying healthy because he was so slight of frame, and Herm Edwards had even talked about it when he coached Arizona State. You got to keep that guy healthy, and it's the second time that the Redskins have had a star at quarterback, young star quarterback who stayed in the game too long. Yep. RG3, same thing, and his career was never the same after that. But hopefully this is something that won't affect him long term, and it's something they can fix and get right, and he'll be back ready to roll.
They have been decimated by injuries. Yep. And when you look at their just overall before the season, you felt like, okay, I don't know if they're going to catch every break that they caught last year, starting with that Hail Mary against the Bears. Yep. Well, they certainly have not caught any breaks.
Yep.
It's been a nightmare season. Just in the game last night, they lose Jaden Daniels, probably for the year. They lost Luke McCaffrey, who ends up breaking his collarbone in the opening kickoff, probably out for the year.
Yep.
Marshawn Lattimore, who is not very good. I don't know why he's been back there playing, but he tore his ACL. He's out for the year. This is on top of the injuries they already had with McLaurin. And
McLaurin can't – he's played, one game maybe? Two?
Yeah, he came back against the Chiefs and re-injured. Yeah, so – but as far as Jaden Daniels last night, I tweeted this out. That was coaching malpractice by Dan Quinn. I heard he was asked the question, which he should have been asked the question after the game. Why did you have him in the game? And, he came kind of a roundabout answer like, well, we're just trying to win and stuff. Dan, you're down 38-7. You're not winning that game last night. There was no business. And it'd been one thing, DJ, if Jaden Daniels had been healthy all year and you're just trying to get do something, maybe reward the fans who stuck around to keep him in the game. But this is a guy you just got back last night off an injury. He's been injured 2 or 3 times already this year. Why in the world would you think it's smart to put him back out there in a 38-7 game where you have no shot to win? And now you see what happens. I thought it was absolutely egregious by Dan Quinn to put him out there.
I totally agree. And I'm one of those guys and
I like Dan Quinn.
I do too. But when I've always said this, when a game's out of hand, get your players out of there because
you got to protect them from themselves a lot of times. Frank will tell you that.
Yep. And I get all that. You got to get them out of the game and live to fight the next battle.
Yes.
And guess what? The Commanders, Redskins, whatever the hell you call them, their season now, which was already going bad, is now done.
Right.
And so, and you better hope that, like I said, that the injury is just something that they can get fixed and he'll be okay, and not something that's going to cause them effects down the road. Because again, he's one of the bright young stars of this league, and now he's out for the year.
Yeah, and luckily it's not his throwing arm, but still, it doesn't matter. It is so egregious, and I keep going back to that word, but. We're talking about a guy who's been beat up all year to keep him in a game like that. There's no rhyme or reason why that should have happened. Yeah. This was such an avoidable injury last night, and it falls on Dan Quinn. And I got to believe Josh Harris, the owner, and I know he was standing down there at one point last night because they had the Art Monk Hall of Fame, they retired his number last night. Mm-hmm. So he was already down on the sideline. I got to believe a conversation was had after the game like, hey, Dan, why was Jaden in the game? 38-7.
Yeah.
I need an answer.
I saw an interview with John Green this morning where he said that if he was the coach there, he would have had him out of the game. He said, now I could sit here and tell you that, as bad as our offense has been playing, I'm sure he wanted to see if they could at least end the game on a good note, get some continuity going for the next game. But you're still down 38-7. Get him the hell out of the game.
And DJ, I can buy that if that's an argument. Let's try to get some continuity because of all the time he's missed. But look at the guys he was missing last night. McLaurin, no McLaurin, no Luke McCaffrey. I mean, Debo was out there, but you don't even have all your weapons, so you're not even accomplishing anything. If that was your rationale for keeping him in the game. So I just thought, man, it was just a terrible decision by Dan Quinn. And he's, he woke up this morning, and I'm sure he feels awful, but that doesn't change the fact that he made a huge mistake last night, putting Jaden Daniels back on the field down 31 points. Yeah, and
listen, he already got asked that question quite a bit last night after the game, and he's going to get it all week long.
Sure he is,
and deservedly so. And it's awful to see one of the young kids in the league that's so fun to watch get hurt when he shouldn't even have been in the game. NFL, by the way, a couple games. You mentioned the Bears game, crazy. Minnesota going with JJ McCarthy in his second or third career start, go in and beat Detroit at Detroit, which I didn't see that coming.
No.
And it's funny. I'm in a Survivor league with 3 buddies, and we all go in together and make our picks. And I've been out for a while, but we're still it's a team, so we split the money. And we have 2 entries still in. So this week we took the Panthers to lose, and we took, because you take them to lose.
Yeah.
We took the Panthers to lose, and then the other guy took the Vikings to lose. And we're watching these games, and you're going, are you kidding me?
Is this really happening?
And I kept going, Panthers are going to end up losing. Don't worry. They'll find a way to lose this game. But so we're now out of that. So that's something I don't have to worry about each week. But I would have saw either one of those coming.
No, and I would love for you when you see Frank next, and I'm sure Buck or whoever, anybody's played, I would love to know what the dynamic of that locker room is in Cincinnati right now. Because you started hearing it after the game yesterday. Chase Brown came out and basically said, we got to get stops, man. We've done our part. Our offense goes out and scores 40-plus points. And here's what's amazing. They're doing this with Joe Flacco as quarterback. Joe Burrow is not even playing, and they're still it's still the same recipe. We go out, score a bunch of points, but our defense can't stop anybody, so we can't win games. And you talk about a locker room divided. That's how it happens when you got one side of the ball playing like the offense is playing, but the defense can't get stops. And at some point, the offensive guys start looking across the room going, hey, man, do your damn job.
Well, if the Bengals don't spend their entire draft and free agent money on defense, which we've been saying that now for a couple of years, it didn't like their defense just got bad. It's been pretty bad, but what a debacle there.
Yeah, look, it was great that you went out and gave Jamar and T. Higgins their money, and you've paid Joe Burrow, but that's not the problem. Your offense is not the problem. That defense, like you said, that's where some money. I don't know how much money you even got to spend on that.
Problem.
You're not going to pay Trey Hendrickson, obviously. So, it's a mess.
Well,
man.
Listen, if you're the Bengals, we talked about the trade deadlines tomorrow. You got to trade Hendrickson. There's no reason to keep him. You would think. I mean,
you're not going to re-sign him.
You're not going to re-sign him. You can't let him just walk out the door when you know you're not going to re-sign him. Trade him and get whatever you can get. If it's a second-round pick, whatever it is, they're not going to get a first-round pick, but go get something for them.
Right.
But they're the Bengals for a reason, and their front office is always has not been cheap. The smartest and been very cheap over the years. And now that they have given their big guys the money, they're in a tough spot, kind of like the Cowboys, who play tonight against Arizona. Well, that ought to be at least an interesting game. College football this weekend. Each week now that we're getting deeper into the season, we learn a little bit more. We're starting to see the picture of who the players are, and who are the non-players. Tomorrow night, I think, is the first announcement of the playoffs.
Yes,
and where teams are stacking up for that right now. Ohio State, to me, is by far the best team in the country. They've got the best defense in the country, and I don't think it's close. And I'm just saying that their quarterback is the real damn deal. And this kid
you got two NFL receivers that he's throwing to, which they always have NFL receivers, but Tate and Smith are legit, man. They could go out on Sunday right now and probably get 100 yards receiving. That's how good they are.
100. I mean, those two kids could start on many teams in the NFL right now. Right. No doubt about it. So I think they're by far the best team in the country. Their schedule is pretty weak from this point until they end with Michigan, which Michigan's had their number the last couple of years. I don't think Michigan has a shot this year.
And I'll give Penn State credit. They fought Saturday for a half. They hung in there.
They did.
But they just got overwhelmed there in the second half.
Yeah, I think Ohio State, Indiana championship game's coming, and that's what we're going to find out what Indiana's really got. They went to Maryland this weekend, number 2 team in the country. They started off a little bit slow, but then they turned it on and ended up winning 55-10 over Maryland. So they keep that train rolling. Georgia, Florida, which I thought was going to be a really good game, and it sure was.
Always is usually.
And man, Georgia just figures out how to win the game in the second half, and in particular the fourth quarter. Like you can never count them out. And Florida played their butts off, and you saw some different things on offense that they had not been doing with this new interim coach. The defense has been stout all year and remain that way. But I think right now, if you're Georgia's got to be probably the number 2 team in the country if you're asking me and my eye test.
You put them over Indiana.
I would. I look, nothing against Indiana, because I believe that they're a good football team. I just don't think they're Georgia good or Alabama good or
Georgia's
Ohio
got
State
like you said, they just got that it. Like they're going to find a way. I think
they've been there so many times. It's nothing new to them.
Yeah, people are, I think, still not completely sold on Indiana because it's Indiana. If you put an Alabama helmet on those guys, people would be sold on.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a Georgia helmet on them, they'd be sold. It's Indiana that I still like.
Yeah,
I still don't know. I mean, Cignetti's a really good coach. He got paid, and Mendoza's going to be a Heisman, candidate in New York and all that. But I don't know. But I think a lot of it has to do with we're just not used to Indiana football being good.
And I think the other part of it is just, minus the win at Oregon, they just don't they don't play the SEC schedule. So when you see a team winning in the SEC every week against really good football teams, I think you're going to elevate them a little bit with the eye test in particular.
Sure.
And I do think Indiana is a very good team. I think they're going to score points. I think their defense is legit good defense, excuse me. But I still don't put them up there with Georgia and even Alabama.
Battle tested, I think is what.
Battle tested. But like I said, we're going to find out because, they go to Penn State this weekend. And, Penn State's lost, 5 in a row, I think. They did fight hard the first half of the Ohio State game. But, Indiana's going to go into this Penn State game. They're probably going to be, double-digit favors, I would think. And you would think they go in there and take care of business, but there's going to be. I was just at a Penn State game a month ago when Northwestern beat them and they fired their coach.
Yeah.
It's a great place to see a game. Those fans are going to still be pumped up with the number 2 team coming to the country. So that won't be I think that'll be a good test. They should get it done, but it should be at least a good test. And we'll see what happens. Oklahoma, Tennessee, Saturday night. I had that game. I was watching that with a couple buddies, one of whom is a huge Tennessee fan, Matt Wilson. I'm a huge baseball guy, so I had the World Series on one TV, had the football game on another TV. Great, fun game to watch. But you and I talked about this, I think Monday or last week. We've talked about it several times when you've been on the show. And when Tennessee plays, you can go ahead and book it. Yep. There'll be at least a couple interceptions. They're going to kill you. And we saw it again in this game. He made some great throws, and he looks great at times.
Sure.
And then here comes the interception. It's inevitable. It's going to happen every game.
It is the Joey Aguilar. That was what you saw Saturday night is Joey Aguilar personified.
Yeah.
You saw it at App State. Like you said, he'll make throws. And I told Tennessee fans I know before the season, he will make throws that make you go, wow, I'm so glad we've got him.
Yep.
And then he will make throws where you're like, why is this guy playing?
Yep.
And unfortunately, we saw a couple of those throws Saturday night against Oklahoma, and it cost them.
And then, listen, they had the fourth, when they went for it on fourth down, great play call, but the true freshman tight end doesn't turn around quick enough, hits him right in the face.
Yep.
So even with the interceptions, they were still in the game, but now Tennessee's playoff hopes are dashed and gone.
Right.
And Oklahoma, who just took an L at home against Ole Miss, to go on the road to Tennessee, which is, in my opinion, it's the loudest place in the country. And I've been to pretty much all of them. To go in there on the road and get that job done there, especially with Mateer not playing nearly as good as he had been before the thumb injury.
Yeah.
He did get it going a little bit in this game. Definitely with his feet. The kid's a scrappy running quarterback, but he hadn't been passing the ball as well since the injury. But Oklahoma, I mean, I really haven't been a believer in Oklahoma, but winning that game there after losing to Ole Miss the way they did, I think they're on my map.
This is going to be a year when it's done. If you're a Tennessee fan, you look back and say, what could have been?
Mm-hmm.
You had that game against Georgia early in the year, overtime game in Knoxville that you had them right there, and you couldn't close the deal.
Yep.
You mentioned Georgia just finds a way. They found a way in that game. And here was another opportunity Saturday night at home. You feel like we get this one, man. We're right in the mix, and you let it slip through your fingers. So yeah, it's going to be a disappointing season for Tennessee when they look at it. It could be it's a good season regardless, but it could have been a great season, an even better season.
Yeah.
Had things, had to close
the pick six going into halftime against Alabama. It's not a hard schedule to look at, and you can literally put your finger on a few things that if it would went differently, that they'd be in a different spot right now. Let's jump in to the ACC, and I know you're tense today. I know you said you might get a little heated today, but let's go to something that's going to put a smile on your face. And
I don't know if I should put a smile on my face or not, big picture wise, but go ahead.
Possibly, but for at least one Saturday night in Raleigh.
Yeah, of course.
And we talked about this game, and I thought Georgia Tech would have enough to at least win it, but we did talk about how night games in Raleigh State seems to play hard and play well.
Yep.
And what did they do? We saw the best, most complete game they've played all year. They had Georgia Tech on their heels from the start. Okay. And even when Georgia Tech started to come back, I'm thinking, oh, here they go. State would answer.
Yeah.
We saw that if State's quarterback comes back next year,
which is a big if, because he's going to get some money thrown at him.
No question.
Somebody out there.
Somebody. I think that kid could be in the Heisman race. Like, the kid has everything. Like,
he's got it.
He has it. And, again, if he stays, which in this day and age, if you were betting on it right now, I'd probably say not a chance in hell he's going to stay.
Right.
But regardless, the kid is just a great football player, and he doesn't ever seem that phase or their defense. I know they give up 36 points, but their defense, at least to me, played a hell of a lot more consistent than we've seen this year.
Well, they forced field goals, which they haven't done. That was huge in that game. There was 2 or 3 times it looked like Georgia Tech was going in for touchdowns, and State was able to hold them to field goals. That was a difference.
It was huge. So Georgia Tech with a big loss there. NC State, congrats, great game. Then we go to the U.
Well, let me say one thing about the state win.
Yep.
I talked about a minute ago with Joe Aguilar, and that was a Dave Dorn special.
Yeah.
Every time, and I mean every time, dirt gets started to get thrown on Dave Dorn, he will come up with a win like this.
He sure will.
And he saves his backside. And I don't know. Reading some things last week, it felt like the Boo Corrigan, the AD, and Dave Dorn were kind of heading towards a mutual parting of the ways after the season. But a win like that, and then you start looking at the schedule like, well, I can maybe see them winning that game.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're in a damn bowl game. So it was a nice win. I don't know if it's a great win in the big scheme of things of what you want to see happen with this program, but that was so Dave Dorn. To come up and win that game Saturday night.
It's like when you play golf,
you just laugh,
and you struggle, and then you birdie the last hole, and that's all you remember, and you want to go play again. And as an NC State fan, they were asking Dorn this week, "Are you going to retire?" And he's like, "No, I'm not going to retire," and all those things, like you said. And then they come out and win. And me and you talked about NC State last week, where we didn't know if they had another win or two left on the schedule, and now you're going, all right.
Yeah.
We should beat Carolina and we should beat Duke. And it's funny how a fan's mind works. And hell, Panthers are a perfect example of that.
I truly believe CJ Bailey's the best quarterback they've had since Russell Wilson.
I agree.
He said it. He doesn't get flustered. He got banged up there at the end of the half. I didn't know if he was going to come back out for the second half. Well, he came back and he made some great throws. He was under control Saturday night. He was in command of that offense.
Yep.
Terrific performance. From
I hope he stays at State because to lose a quarterback like that stinks, but that's the day and age we live in. The U, Miami, can't figure him out. First 3-4 weeks of the season,
or maybe we do figure him out.
Yeah, maybe now we've got them figured out.
This is who they are.
This is who they are. They go to SMU. SMU coming off a loss at Wake Forest, I believe.
Yeah.
And Miami goes in and loses 26-20, which was actually a very entertaining game to watch. But Miami, man, the first few weeks of the season, we're thinking this team is legit. Like they are maybe the best team in the country. They've got a great O-line, great D-line. Carson Beck was playing great. And they've now lost, 2 of their last 3 to SMU and Louisville. And Carson Beck has reverted back
old Carson
to Georgia. Carson Beck,
which wasn't great.
No, and he's throwing interceptions. And after the game, he basically was kind of blaming the play calling and the coaching staff a little bit. So Miami's a disaster. And then quasi ACC, Notre Dame takes on Boston College. I'm a Notre Dame fan. You're a Notre Dame fan. So we know that Boston College and Navy,
their Super Bowl
is always tougher than people think.
Sure.
And so the spread in this game was 30, and I was like, there's not a chance in hell Notre Dame's going to win that game by 31 points. Not a chance. They ended up winning 25-10 in a very ugly game. They did enough to get it done. Jeremiah Love, another stellar game, but had a huge run in 94-yard or whatever it was, touchdown run that sealed it. And now they got Navy coming this week to Notre Dame. Navy coming off a tough game. North Texas last week. Or this weekend they lose. And Notre Dame, and again, we'll see tomorrow night when the playoff stuff comes out. If they win out, they're going to be in the playoffs.
Sure.
So they can't afford to stumble one game. And they've got Navy this week, and then they're at Pitt. Pitt's playing really well right now, considering the way that they started the season.
Yep.
So Notre Dame gets it done with Boston College, and we'll see how that goes against Navy this week. And then another game I wanted to talk a little bit about was the Texas Vanderbilt game. That was a game that we all had circled going into the weekend. We were excited to see that game. Pavia, Manning, and for Vanderbilt, you couldn't get off to a worse start. I think they scored 10 points in the first 4 plays.
Yeah, it was 17-0 to start the game.
Yeah, I mean they dug themselves a hole. Then they do what Vandy does. They don't give up. They fight. They scrap. And honestly, you see at the end of the game, I mean, he had that onside kick in his hands, and it just squibbled out of bounds, where that would have given them a chance to try a field goal to tie it. But the thing that stuck out to me the most, and my buddy Nico from Neogenics, who's one of our sponsors, and Nico is a great guy, and he's a very, very smart sports guy. And Frank, we're on a text thread, and Charlie Nance from WSOC, and they're just railing on Manning all the time, railing on him. And I have no dog in the fight. I can't stand Texas, and I have no dog in the fight when it comes to Manning. But I just keep saying, when you watch him play, you see that he's got everything a great quarterback has, from the arm. He can run. He's got the size. The only thing that he doesn't have is experience. And I've said it all year. I expect as the year gets deeper that he's going to start getting better and better and better. And what did he do this weekend? He started a little slow in that game. He still misses some wide open guys here and there, but then he gets it going and he ends up having a game where I think he's only one of 4 quarterbacks at Texas who's had 300 running or passing and 3 touchdown games. So Texas is an interesting team. I'm still not buying into them. I still think they're second tier. Right. And we're going to find out a lot about them in 2 weeks when they go to Georgia. We're going to find out a lot about them. But Manning, to me, seems to get it to be figuring out getting his feet under him.
And that's, we are in a society now where people have no patience. They can't wait to see something. They got to know right now. And that's why it was almost comical before the season started that you heard the proclamations from the Paul Feinbaums of the world and all these people. Arch Manning's the greatest prospect I've ever seen, and he has a chance. He hasn't played. Let him play. And his first game he was going to start was in Columbus against the defending national champions. I mean, who's going to walk in there and have their way with that defense? Yep. Well, guess what? He didn't. And all of a sudden, it took a half for people to jump up. Well, see, he's overrated. Yep.
We've seen he's been in more commercials this game than he's completed passes.
Dude, let it play out. I know nobody wants to do that anymore about anything, but sometimes you got to let it play out and let this guy play. Let him come back next year. And I guarantee he will be better than he was this year.
Next year he will be what everybody thought he was going to be this year. And we see him getting better and better, and it's every week. And so, I'm not buying the Texas stock yet, but the more I continue to see him grow, the more I'm starting to go, okay, maybe Texas is going to have something. We'll see. And like I said, in 2 weeks, they've got Georgia, and that's going to tell us all we need to know.
And remember, he was in concussion protocol last week.
He was going to play.
Didn't even know. Yeah, right. So it was only natural maybe that he got off to a slow start, but man, he was playing good ball by the end of that game.
One quick note too in college before I jump into some of the big games that's coming up or this weekend. A lot of Gamecock fans got what they desired and what they've been cheering for and screaming for the past month. They finally get rid of Shula. The play calling, in my opinion, has been absolutely atrocious. Yep. It made no sense. Now, South Carolina doesn't have a running game. Sellers has taken a step back from what he had done last year. They've got speed at receivers, but I don't think they've got great route runners at receivers. So I don't think you can put this all on Shula, but I had a feeling he was going to get fired when you saw the clip of Beamer on the sideline yelling, "What the bloop, Mike? What the bloop?" Like when he's finally screaming that, knowing it's going to be on every social media channel and news channel that you watch, I had a feeling that he was going to get gone, and they got rid of him yesterday. And so we'll see if that makes a change. South Carolina still has a hell of a schedule, and their season's all but over. And Lenore Sellers is another guy that we're going to have to wait and see because the money was thrown at him this year, and he didn't take it. Now he's coming to come off a horrible year if he doesn't go to the NFL, which I think he needs to stay another year, but it wouldn't shock me.
And I know we brought this up before, but you look at the start of the season and the quarterbacks that were talked about more than anybody. It was Arch Manning, it was Cade Klubnik, and it was Norris Sellers. Yep. Nobody was talking about Francisco Mendoza or just saying that Ohio State. Those 3 quarterbacks, Sellers, Manning, Klubnik, Cade Klubnik. None of them are going to be in New York for the Heisman Trophy. They're an afterthought when it comes to the Heisman.
They're going to be in New Jersey.
Right, exactly. So it just goes to show, man, you never, you got to see it play out sometimes. And for South Carolina, Lenore Sellers, it's been a big disappointing season. I mean, DJ, they were that close to getting into the playoffs last year.
They were honestly a horribly officiated game against LSU.
And that game against Alabama, they almost had one.
Yep.
If they win that, they're in the playoff. Yep. And the excitement and the expectations were through the roof. I guess the question now is Shane Beamer's future at South Carolina. A lot of people feel like he's going to go back to Blacksburg and coach where his dad obviously coached. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. So hell, they may be looking for a new coach down in Columbia.
Yeah, and listen, the Clemson South Carolina game at the end of the year, it's always a fun game to watch.
The disappointment bowl.
Right. I mean, Clemson loses to Duke at home this weekend, and credit to Duke, because what a hell of a game they played. And then to go for 2, to go for the win and get it.
And I agree with Dabo, by the way. That was one of the worst calls I've ever seen.
It was a horrible call.
Interference call.
Horrible
was a
call.
joke.
I mean, horrible call. And I had no dog in that fight. And we're watching that game, and I'm like, you can't make that call. No. I mean, there was.
I thought it should have been. If anything, it should have been offensive pass interference.
That's exactly what I said.
He threw the guy to the ground.
That's exactly what I said.
What are we talking about here?
But they made it, and credit to Duke for. But
Clemson's defense. I mean, that call was atrocious. But I'm sorry, your defense has given up almost 50 points to Duke off. And look, Duke's a good team, but you have no business giving up that many points to anybody with your Clemson's defense.
Yeah, I think we'll have Buck on the show Friday, and we'll see what he has to say about it, because I'm sure he was stirring during that game. Stirring. Yeah. This week in college football, it's not as big of a schedule as we've seen the last few weeks with matchup wise. You do have Texas A&M going to Missouri. Missouri's defense is great. They're scrappy. I don't know if the true freshman is going to have to be a quarterback. I think he is, but he played great when he came in against who was it 2 weeks ago? Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So Texas A&M is hitting on all cylinders. So that's a big matchup we got this weekend. Georgia at Mississippi State. Mississippi State keeps every game tight for a while. I mean, they're one of those teams that, again, you can kind of see that they're following the process too. They're getting better every week. Their coach, I love him. I think he's a great coach. But Georgia at Mississippi State, they should take care of business, but that's one I'm keeping my eye on. BYU, Texas Tech. Who would have thought you had an 8-9 matchup between BYU and Texas Tech this late in the season? So take the over in that game. Take the over, and BYU just keeps squeaking by, and both those teams can score, like you said. I mentioned Notre Dame's home against Navy, Indiana at Penn State. Another game that's at least going to be interesting is Oregon at Iowa. Iowa's always a tough place to play.
Talk about they ugly it up usually.
They ugly it up. You got to think that Oregon can find a way to score enough points to win there, especially knowing that Oregon came across the country and won at Penn State before Penn State lost their quarterback and their coach.
They broke Penn State.
They broke Penn State. Yeah, they basically beat them twice because they lost to UCLA the next week. But that's a game that I'm at least keeping my eye on. Auburn at Vandy. We'll see how Vandy rebounds, and Auburn fires their coach Hugh Freeze this weekend. I think we're now up to 13 or 14 big coaching jobs
every
available.
Sunday. It's like who next Sunday? Who's going to be the guy?
I mean, if I was a college coach and I lost on Saturday, I wouldn't go on social media on Sunday. I wouldn't watch TV on Sunday because I feel like I'd be watching the game, and then on the scroll it would say, DJ Stout fired.
Yeah, when you get that call, the meeting's been canceled for today. You're like, oh no,
here it goes. And you're right, man. I mean, every Sunday there's been a coach fired, big coaches. So this whole, what's funny is when they start filling these jobs, they're going to open up all these jobs. And so the entire world of college sports and college football, when it comes to players changing teams every year, the coaches now are doing the same thing. And we're going to see probably 30 at least new head coaches at big programs. Yeah.
And the question's going to be, how much are some of these schools willing to pay to get some of these guys? Like James Franklin ain't going to come cheap.
Yep.
Let's put Nick Saban. He's not coming back to coaching. So let's put that to the side. But some of these coaches, like Clark Lee, even though they lost Saturday at Vanderbilt, he's going to be a guy.
Oh yeah.
That if you're Penn State, if you're, you fill in the blank, you're going to be looking at, can we get that guy to come
and we saw Nebraska.
We saw Matt Rule
to make sure they didn't lose him.
Yeah.
And so that took one name off the board, especially if you're a Penn State fan. I know he was probably the leader in the clubhouse there.
Yeah.
A couple other things before we get out of here. I know you're a huge baseball fan like I am. I can't stand the Dodgers and really don't root for the Blue Jays, but I
was rooting for them in this.
I was too. But I got to say, man, I watched every game of the World Series. It was such an entertaining series with so much drama and so many different heroes on both sides of the ball. I think that was the best Game 7 in baseball I've ever seen. I mean, I heard something this morning, and I'll probably screw it up, but they called it a golden pitch, and it's rare. And I guess it's when it's in a World Series Game 7 when each team has a chance to win the game on a pitch. And there was 3 of them in this game. And if you're a Toronto fan, you still have to be heartbroken when not only do you give up the home run in the last inning to a guy that hasn't hit a home run off a right-hand pitcher this year, if I'm not mistaken. Then he makes just an unbelievable play at second base where he gets eaten up by the ball, falls down, but has the wherewithal to get up and throw a strike to home and gets them out barely. And then the decision of Lopez to put Pages in the game at center field. And he tracks it down like a linebacker, knocks over the DB and catches the ball. It looked like a football play. Yeah. And just that's why I love playoff baseball, is because every pitch means something. And you go from here to here and just like that,
I was asking, Saturday night, what deal with the devil did the Dodgers make, man? Because it just felt like, money aside, we all know about the money and the Dodgers and what they can pay people that nobody else
they
can.
Just signed Kyle Tucker today.
Yeah, I did. Oh, it's coming,
it's
DJ.
Coming.
Don't laugh.
It's totally coming.
It's absolutely coming.
Totally coming.
But it's, it is. I was thinking about this yesterday. If I'm a Blue Jays fan, which play is going to haunt you more? Is it going to be the home run to Rojas to tie it? Is it going to be Will Smith's home run that ended up winning? For me, it will be the play at home plate and that shot of just inches.
Yeah.
Of the cleat hitting home plate before Will Smith got the ball.
Yep.
And that's how close you were to winning.
That would be
a world championship.
Yeah. I mean, you're literally inches away from winning your first World Series.
Even in the 11th inning, Vladdy leads off with a double.
Yeah.
And how many opportunities? That's the thing that is just, it is going to be a long. It's one of those you'll never get over. Even as a Braves fan, I love the fact that they won it in 95 and they won it again in 2021. But 96 still bothers me because you're up 2-0 in that series against the Yankees.
Yep.
And you should have had that series.
Yep.
And that still haunts you. And I can only imagine what a Blue Jays fan is going to be haunted, how they're going to be haunted by this series for so many years to come, regardless of what they do.
Yeah, because listen, it's so hard to get there.
Yes.
And then when you get there to come up literally an inch short in game 7, it's heartbreaking.
And you're going back home. You're at 3-2. You're like, we got 2 shots at home to win the championship.
Yep.
And even in the game Friday night, the fluke, the bizarre double play to end that game. It just again, I go back to what I said a minute ago. I don't know what deal the Dodgers made, but man, they made a good.
Well,
one.
I'm sure they paid the devil quite a bit of money because
they deferred the money.
They deferred it for another century.
No doubt.
But it was a hell of a World Series, and I hate that it's over because I really did look forward to watching those games every night, even though I didn't have a dog in that fight. It was just a lot of fun to watch. And then I want to end up talking a little bit about the Hornets. I've been to 2 games this year. They still don't play defense at all, and last night they at least shut down the second chance points.
They couldn't stop Laurie Marketing, but they kind of stopped everybody else.
Exactly, it was almost like the Panthers. All right, we'll bend not break. We'll let him get his points, and but man, I'll tell you what, these rookies that the Hornets drafted in a small sample size thus far looks like they drilled this draft. Knipple, 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists last night, has more 3-pointers than anybody.
You can thank me, by the way. I've been taking him in my parlays. I didn't take him last night, and of course he goes off.
Yeah, I did take him, but I tied him with something that lost, so I forget what it was. Sion James, 2nd-round pick out of Duke, does a little bit of everything, and he has just been phenomenal. He's starting now. Last night, 15, 5, and 3, plays good defense. He's one of those glue guys. He does a little bit of everything, kind of like Knipple. And then Diabate, not a rookie. We were worried about our center position, and Kalbrenner's been great.
Yes.
He was off last night, but he almost didn't even play for personal reasons. Not sure what was going on there, but he did play, and you could tell he just was kind of off his game. But Diabate comes in and 17 points, 12 rebounds, hustles his butt off. And then Colin Sexton, no Melo. Shocker. We're 7 games in, and no Brandon Miller and no Melo. Right. Same thing. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I think Melo's fun to watch, and when he's on, I love watching him play. But enough.
CJ, I said last year I would have moved him last year.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm tired of talking about what he could be and all this stuff. You get to a point where enough's enough.
Yep.
And I'm not there with Brandon Miller. I'm heading in that direction.
I am too.
But I am there with LaMelo. I thought they should have moved him last offseason.
Well, the Hornets get a win last night. They're 3-4 in the year. They go to the Pelicans tomorrow, who are 0-6 on the year. So hopefully they can get back to 500. But I got a trade idea, and I don't know if it's stupid. It's definitely risky. It's definitely risky because I don't like the guy that I'm wanting to trade for. I don't like him at all.
Okay.
I think he's a punk.
Oh.
But
I can't wait to hear who this is.
But he's a great player, and he's fallen out of favor.
I know now. I know where you. Now I know where you have.
I would trade Melo to Memphis for John Morant right now, because talent wise, you could argue they're even. I mean, I guess maybe you could argue that Morant's better, but dude, you can also see that he's got kicked out for a whole season, damn near. You know, he's bitching about the coaching now, but he's a great player.
Do you want to bring that into your building?
That's the thing. Yeah. And that's what I don't know.
Yeah.
Because everybody does like Melo. That's one thing.
Sure.
The teammates like him.
He's quirky, he's weird, but
I think Morant, if I'm not sure, I think Morant is
flips off officials, but other than that.
I think Morant is from North Carolina. Get him out of Memphis, where they say is kind of what drew him in, where he's around the wrong people. And again, I don't want to dive into all that because I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would make that trade today.
If you
fresh start for both of them.
If you were the Grizzlies, though, would Melo be enough straight up?
Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, it really depends on how bad they want to get rid of him. But the Hornets are sitting on a plethora of draft choices.
Right.
I mean, I think they've got 3 or 4 first-round picks. They've got, I think, 8 second-round picks. So, you know, they've got what they need to get it done. The money, I would guess, matches up, or is at least pretty close. But they also have Pat Connaughton on the bench. That's I think a good trade piece when it comes from a salary standpoint. So I doubt they do it, because I think you're totally right. I don't know if they want to bring that into the building.
Sure.
But enough of this Melo not playing crap. It's just, we're 7 games in, man. And it's the same ankle. I mean, it's time to move on from him. And I'll tell you this, going back to a positive, I love Colin Sexton. Not only does he seem like a great teammate and a great leader, and last night he didn't even have a great game. He didn't have a shot last night. He only scored 10 points, but he had 12 assists. But he's getting guys in the right spot. You can see that he's a mentor to a lot of these young guys. You hear even Knipple and some of these guys talking about how he's taking the leadership role with them. And so the difference between this Hornets team and last year's Hornets team is when Miller and Melo are out, which is damn near every game, we're not having to put G League dudes in there.
That's I was going to say, they at least, you feel like they still have a puncher's chance with the group they have. Last year, you're right, and you spent Miller and LaMelo out, forget it.
Yep.
Because you basically were putting a G League team out there.
Yep.
That's not the case anymore. And they're, and Charles Lee's able to go deeper into his bench because he feels these guys are actually going to go out there and produce. So that's certainly been a positive.
Trey Mann had a solid game last night. He seems to get it going. They really need his offense off the bench. And he had a decent game last night. So hopefully he's starting to get it going. Hopefully Melo plays tomorrow night. Maybe this was just a load management crap, whatever we see.
Load management, 7 games in the season.
7 games in. Unbelievable. That's a bet I wish I could have had on FanDuel. Will Miller and Melo each miss a game before game 8? I would have bet the hell out of it.
And I saw a report was it last week that the Hornets were going to get a second opinion on Miller's shoulder. I haven't seen anything about that, but
they were saying that Miller was going to go get a second, not even the Hornets.
Right. So I don't know when I don't even know when he's expected back.
Well, they say he's working out, and they say, but the tricky thing is with that shoulder, when your shoulder pops out and pops back in, it is an injury that if you don't get surgery to fix it, it is something that tends to happen.
Oh, believe me, one of my buddies, when I was at App State, we were playing pick up basketball, and his shoulder used to pop out every time we played. Literally he had to pop it back in,
like Mel Gibson on Lethal Weapon.
You're right. If once that happens and as you said, you don't get it fixed, it's going to keep happening.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. Shannon Spake, she's the great sideline reporter for the Hornets, does a great job. And I text her to see if there's anything new. And she just said, he's working out and he's doing his stuff. And so we'll see what happens. The Hornets have been kind of tight-lipped on it. And so we'll see. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Big D, thank you over there at the production table. Great job as usual. Dylan's got another podcast he has to do this afternoon up at the lake, so I know he's got to get out of here. But good job, Dylan. Panthers, great win. Enjoy it this week. Panthers at home against the Saints Sunday. Let's crowd the stadium and let's be loud. It'll be the first home field advantage they've had there in 3 home games.
Yeah, right.
Even Miami had a bunch of fans there. Yep. So let's make sure we get down there and fill those seats and support this team. We'll be back Friday talking not just Panthers, but the college football card we just discussed, and update on Jaden Daniels and some other things. There'll probably be some other coaches fired by then. But everybody have a great week. We'll see you Friday.